Welcome to the Paradise Paradox. Keep your head spinning, keep your head in the game. Stay focused on the dollars, as that's what we're going to talk about. Welcome to the Paradise Paradox. I had a chat with my friend Fernando Mises. You might know him as the Emancipated Human. We talked about money and about being grateful and about why some things are more important than money. So you'll be hearing all about that and more. Please remember to check out my new channel, Cryptonomics. I put a lot of work into it. I've tightened up the production. It's a whole new thing, a whole new Phoenix from the Flames, Kurt Robinson 2.0 type thing, Cryptonomics. Check it out on YouTube, on iTunes, Anchor, your favorite podcast app. All of that stuff, please check it out. It's called Cryptonomics. I think you're really gonna like it. So check that out. Thank you so much. Let's get into it. So, Luis, good to see you.
Likewise, brother man.
So I wanted to ask you, a lot of people have this conception about money, that it's evil or that it's even the root of all evil. What would your commentary be on that?
I wouldn't agree necessarily, I think people dislike money because of who issues the money. And that's the part that they don't know. Like they feel like they're robbed. And historically, if you, look at the books, it's always been like a king or a government that issues currency. So they have this sticky relationship connection between money and its issuer. So they hate that, it's dirty. Like you shouldn't be worrying about it. Like you should be just doing what you love, right? So like, you make things dirty when you put money in them. And like the whole message is like, you better wash your hands with dirty money or whatever. So people have been brainwashed, a lot of people, not everybody, to believe that money is the root of all evil. It even shows in the Bible. And then some people say, they try to tell me, it's not money the root of all evil, but the love of money that's the root of all evil.
Right. That's the Bible verse.
Right. And I say to even that, it's like, I think that's completely inaccurate, because what's not to love about money, in my opinion, I think that money is a reflection of your work, of your energy, of your skill, of your time, of, like you're trading being away from your family and putting all of this, energy into things. Why would you not love that? So I think that people that say, love money is all evil, I think they don't see the full picture. I can understand that maybe loving somebody else's money, like if I want to get your money through dirty means, that's pretty evil, which is what the state is doing. They are taking our money away from us. What do you think about all of this?
I like what you said about how it's representative of your production, of your productive capacity. And it's also like when you serve other people, so when you gain honest money, it is a representation of your service. Like you've done something good for others, and that way it's rewarded. So I remember I wrote something about it years ago, talking about people demonize profits. But I said, well, people should actually celebrate profits. People should be so ecstatic that somebody's able to make a profit. And if somebody is profitable, they should praise that person and say, thank you so much for everything you've done for the community, providing that they're profiting in an honest way.
Yeah, totally. And there's something that happens that's actually kind of funny when you start like zooming into it. People, and their peers, and they have some success. It's like, oh, it's so nice, it's all fine and dandy. And, that person or people may be even more giving to the community and all of that. However, there's this hate directed towards the rich, even though the friend or relative may be relatively wealthy, but it's the people without faith and, the rich, the 1%. Those are the evil guys. It's okay that you have money because you're a good person, but not those guys, right? So let's start talking about that, because the 1%, that's pretty damn arbitrary in my opinion, because in the United States, you become the 1% when you're making $325,000 a year. And when I say that to people, they're like, well, that's a lot of money, but it's not as much as I thought. They're thinking like the Rockefellers and a guy. $325,000 is a lot of money, but it's not rich level, if you will, So they just suddenly and magically, once you make $325,000 a year, you become evil. That's stupid, no?
Yep. Well, yeah, it's also if you look at it globally, if you make about $47,000 a year, then you're the 1%. And for a while, that was actually the median salary in Australia. So you make the median salary in Australia, you're like one of these fat cats.
Yeah, suddenly, I grow horns, and I've been so evil for several years already, because I've passed that a long time ago. I'm growing fangs and shit. So, and yeah, this is actually adrenochrome, I'm drinking people's bloods and shit.
Right, sacrificing babies and drinking their blood. That's what happens as soon as you pass over 47,000 a year.
Yeah, and actually it was even 37. I don't think it even made it to 40. Once and that's freaking average, for a young person to make that much money. So, so that's the thing with money. I think that profit is a social good, because I think that if you look at things, the neighborhoods that tend to be a little more into the poor area, they're a little dirtier and they don't take care of things as much. I actually have some friends that, that live in those areas, and whenever they come to my house, they actually don't treat my house and my things. And when they get into my car, they slam the doors. They're not as careful with things. And that, I've seen that repeatedly on various places. What I see is people don't necessarily take care of things as much, because it's just things maybe sometimes they didn't work so hard for them, because they got it for free from, I don't know, one of these charity places. But when I bust my ass to get nice things, I want to take care of them. So where I'm going with it is, once people start getting into a little bit of a higher strata of money, they start going in towards the nicer things. So like about 10 years ago, when I started shopping at Whole Foods, I was the only non-white person in Arlington, Texas that shopped at Whole Foods. Okay. That was pretty freaking weird. And I've noticed, and as time has been progressing, I see all sorts of colors and flavors and sizes, because, as people are having more money, they see the value of good food, So, that in itself is so interesting. So actually, that's what I'm saying. When people are having more money, they gravitate towards more education, better choices. They see these things. So money is not inherently evil, or it's the love of it. Have you, what do you think?
Yeah, well, one thing it makes me think of is I see people online, in these political groups on Facebook, and they're complaining about how terrible it is to have really little money. Like they say, if you have little money, then you just can't have a fulfilling life. And I'm like, really? There are so many things you can do for free. And I think if you have little money and you can be grateful for the opportunities that you do have when you have little money, then you're much more likely to grow and prosper and take advantage of things and be grateful when you do have more money. But if you have little and you can't be grateful for it, and you can't figure out how to do cool stuff with little money, then you're in trouble.
Absolutely. One thing that my parents always told me was, life is like a Ferris wheel. Sometimes you're on top and sometimes you're at the bottom, but it never lasts. It keeps going. So even though you may have some success, it's not going to last, So don't take your stuff like too serious when you're down here or too granted when you're up here. So, and just kind of flow with it. And I think that, like the lack of flexibility on those, I guess, revolutions, it creates a lot of stress, and people like, things come and go. And like, especially like, us entrepreneurs that are just doing our own thing, a lot of times, like some months are like rainfall and some other months are like Sahara desert, so you have to kind of learn how to go with things. It's kind of interesting and fun.
I think it's happened to, well, it's certainly happened to me. I know it's happened to you and a lot of people in crypto where they've lost a lot of money. And it's tough when that happens. But when it happened to me, I had to reflect. I had to look back, and I was thinking, well, I could have done all this stuff. I could have taken a trip. I could have bought new camera equipment or new computer or whatever, but I didn't. And I thought, wow, I was taking that for granted. I wasn't really grateful for what that money was offering me. If I had been more grateful, then I would have used it for something productive.
Yeah. I can see some of that, but I can also see some other perspective on that. Like,
yep.
I definitely take advantage of that. And I when we have money, and again, like the circle that I was telling you about, when we have some, like, we travel, we go places and whatever. And when we don't, I tell my kids, we're not making as much right now, so we're going to hang tight and we're going to stay home and play video games, go across the street, go to the park, go biking, like you said, you have to be creative. There's a lot of things that we can do with that money. When we have money, like every month we buy a video game for each kid and we rotate. And so there's a lot of things because we're grateful. But it's not just for us as well. This is something that like my parents taught me growing up, like our little neighbors, if somebody's around and we're going to go to the lake or places, we take people with us, we take family. I like to be able to give experiences to people that are near me because, I love them and that's what I like to do. Now, I also like to keep money aside by, the whole being at the bottom of the Ferris wheel. It gets kind of tough. So I don't want to just, be grateful all the time and spend it all.
Yeah. Well, there's two sides to everything. In my case, I was probably being too stingy. I should have spent a bit more and improved my life because of it. But every situation is different.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I try to be stingy. I'm naturally a spendy person. So I'm like, especially now that crypto's a little bit down. I try not to do a lot of those things. It's kind of challenging. And then, goes and does a 3-day juice fast for $200. But yeah, it's losing money is actually kind of an interesting experience. And, I've always liked to say that you can really get to know people when you give them power, when you give them money, and when they're under stress. Those are the three things. Like that really brings your true person out, especially also, being drunk, those are the things. So how do you behave when you have a lot of money? Like, I think that those are kind of like, and in chemistry, the triangle is the heat element that brings the essence of that, whatever you're heating up. So I like to say that, money and power.
What's the triangle?
Yeah. In chemistry, the representation for heat is a triangle.
Ah, okay.
So like when you're putting like your, documentation of how you're moving the chemicals and all of that, and the triangle means that you apply heat because it goes like it brings the essence out. It excites the molecules, so it's more effervescent, right? So I like to say that same heat triangle is like money. So people become more shitty with money. That means that they were already shitty to begin with. Now they're shittier because they have more power and influence. On the other side, if people are nice and they get a lot of money, you start seeing them doing nice things. So again, money is just an enhancement tool for your personality, just like power, you know? So I want to say that I like to, you know, prepare my kids in that same situation. Like, you have to be the same person when we have money, when we don't have money, when you're with people, when you're alone, you know, like under stress or under normal circumstances, you have to focus on, you know, certain things, you know, like respecting people, being nice, doing what you say you're going to do, and whatever other values that we think they're important, right? So like other things that come into our awareness, they're just like either helping you be better, you know, or, you know, you have to move them away. So, I mean, it's a very complex situation. So like the losing money, you probably know, like last July, not this one, but last year, my best friend died. And it's kind of a funny story too. Not that he died, but how. So my wife is, I love her so much, but sometimes she finds purpose for money whenever I make a little extra. She's like, oh, we need this. So we end up buying something else, right? So I started saving money. I was sending my friend like $500 a week. And, you know, in an effort to kind of keep my like secret stash if we needed like, you know, a new car or house or whatever, because I knew crypto was going to go up. And suddenly, you know, my best friend goes to Costa Rica to do some water sports, and he passed. And he had like, I mean, I don't have anything. Like he was putting everything under his account. So here I am, and that was probably like close to like $400,000 that, wow. You know, and I'll tell you this, and I'll shit you not, and you probably have seen my post and we've talked about it, and the money comes and goes. It's, if I was able to generate $500,000 before, I can do it again and more. That's not a problem at all. You know, like actually losing somebody that you love, that you text with every fucking morning, you know, like that is the real loss, in my opinion. Like, I mean, I still, you know, connect with his mom and dad, text, and, you know, how you doing? I went to visit them. That's the real part. So again, going up and down, money comes and goes. It's not a, you know, whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely right. Like if someone's in that situation where they do lose money, and I'm sure it probably happened to most people listening to this, if they have crypto, at least they can take solace in the fact that they still have their loved ones, and there's a lot of comfort in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, there's so many people that I've known, or not known, but I've read about, like, you know, they're in Wall Street and all that stuff, that they lose a bunch of money and they're like committing suicide because they cannot see their life without all this money. And, you know, I'm really grateful for my wife, because like she told me, she said, if we have to go to an apartment and start over again, we'll do it. We started at the bottom. We can do it again. Don't worry about it. Like that level of support. So when you have that, you know, like I'm getting teary. Like when you have the level of support from your partner, and you know that you have skills, then, you know, you're basically like unbreakable at that point, you know? And I think that makes a real big difference. And, you know, she's also a real social butterfly, wanting to go places, connecting with people, helping out. And so, like, again, I see money as an agent of good, because that's what's inside me. I mean, you know, we're all black and white, you know, good and evil, but I like to consciously focus on what I can do to help myself and others.
Yes. With cryptocurrency sort of coming out of nowhere, how do you think that aligns with the change in human consciousness? Like, do you think there's something shifting within humanity, and crypto is representative of that?
More recognition happening to the ideology that we're living in a simulation. And since I was little, because, you know, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, so I was like into video games when they first came out, kind of thing. Like I see life as a video game, you know, it's progressively more difficult, but then you gain like XP and you get weapons and, you know, like you get better. So it's not, life gets easier. But at any rate, I think that it's the next conscious step, as you can see everything. Like I was telling my son yesterday, my iPhone, like NASA used to have like 2 or 3 rooms to be able to fulfill what my phone does, or halfway even. And it was probably millions and millions of dollars. And now, for like less than $1,000, I have more power than NASA in the 60s and 70s in my pocket. So, like with that in mind, and I mean, everything has changed. Cars have changed, like computers have changed, but money hasn't changed. Money and batteries. I hate batteries. They're like so clunky and big, So now finally, like you're able to, something I really love is like Apple Pay. You just kind of swipe your phone, like that old idea of having to pull your wallet out, swipe, so it's just like, bloop, you're already on your phone anyway. You just kind of swipe it next to the little machine and bam. So I think crypto is something extremely important to talk about, because it's a disruptive energy that takes the power away from those that are trying to keep us here. I have a really good friend, Rafael Laverde. He actually kind of scolded me the other day. He said, Luis, you need to stop saying that you don't know a whole lot about crypto because you don't know the technical stuff. And I'm like, okay. And then he said, you need to focus on what you focus on, the importance of crypto. So that I was like, aha moment kind of thing, because like the real importance of crypto is not just how complex it can be and all these wonderful things that, that's there. Like, I don't need to understand how my phone works to be able to use it.
Yeah.
So what he was able to tell me was like, just focus on that. So now there's a lot of people that are writing code for coins that are more into the power mentality, the greedy mentality. How can I make a buck? Versus the actual essence of the white paper of Satoshi that is there to emancipate humanity, to remove the power from the powers that were into humanity in general. So it's a form of Prometheus kind of situation. So I'm really excited about crypto on both the technical, because it's just kind of fun to learn new things, but the actual philosophical and even metaphysical like aspects of them. What do you think about all of that?
About the metaphysical aspects of cryptocurrency?
Yeah, I mean, like just everything that I just said.
I do remember I had this weird experience. It was kind of like a peyote flashback or something, where I woke up one morning. I was in this small town in Mexico, and I went to a fonda, like a little, you know what a fonda is? A little family kitchen, if you will. And I sat down and with my notebook, like I always do, and started writing. And all these weird ideas started to come out, talking about the nature of money. And it was the conclusion was kind of like, the less real or less physical a form of money is, the more perfect it is as money. So the more the closer in alignment it is with the idea of value. The conclusion was something like, ideas are this currency that you can use between universes. But but Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, was somewhere along the line there, like better than notes, better than gold. It was an interesting conversation that I had with myself, or with whatever was speaking to me that day.
That's actually super exciting, and it makes a lot of sense. Like, I have a friend that is, I have a VPN on my phone and my computers because Facebook kind of blacklisted me. So he was explaining to me like the need that there's not going to be a need for VPNs anymore with technology that he's working on. He's working on quantum messaging. Like, okay, there is no way to track that shit because it just goes from one to the other, kind of like entanglement theory of sorts. I mean, like, if that doesn't bake your noodle, then nothing will.
It does bake my noodle.
Now, what you're saying, it's actually pretty exciting, because there can be like an energy exchange of sorts that can go through dimensions, through that kind of things. So I love it. And I actually think that money is extremely spiritual. And even like, here's the thing, like a lot of the lefties, they tend to be maybe the ones that have more problems with the money and all that. And they gravitate away from Judeo-Christian mentality, which, we kind of do too a little bit. And they move towards, Eastern religions of sorts. And one thing that I'm really into, and I have been for a while, is Tantra. And in the Tantric tradition, two things are extremely important, which is like the knowledge of the mind and the heart, and like basically enlightenment and a good physical experience in this world. And they talk about money. Like they say you have to be busting on happiness and love and money and all of these things, because that's a sign that you're like connected, like going from dial up to DSL to fiber optic spiritually, if you will. So, I mean, that is in those kinds of scriptures that are at least 1,000 years old, with like the Recognition Sutras. So I think it's extremely powerful to think about, to talk about money in those kinds of subjects. And when I'm kind of thinking about it, like how it just seems to me like there is a COINTELPRO situation against money. So only the one, I mean, it only makes sense. Like the really, 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 really rich people are in favor of it. And you will say rich people in favor of socialism makes no sense. But in reality, when you see it in practice, like Denmark, for instance, there are no rags to riches stories ever. It's impossible. Whereas like here in the States, it's easy. Over there, it's all the same. So like the really top layer of society will always stay there. And then the rest of the people are always here. There is not a permeable membrane between those two strata. So that's one of the reasons why they demonize, having money and all of this stuff. And suddenly, you see them. I mean, like you saw Maduro with Salt Bay in Turkey, right?
Yes.
That's like super crazy. That's what, I mean, his people are starving to death. And I understand we all need vacations, but I mean, going to Turkey is not cheap to begin with. And then how much would it cost to go to Salt Bay? Like, I mean, a steakhouse here in the States is at least $100 per person. I cannot even imagine how much it will be to go with Salt Bay.
Yeah, to get him to come to your table and prepare it for you. And that guy is, I think he's an international chef, because I did see a Eddie Huang special where he met Salt Bay in Dubai. So Salt Bay travels around the world cooking steak for people, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah, he got a shirt and he was smoking a cigar.
Yeah.
So anyway, I see like that idea of, there's some brainwashing that's happening on purpose. I think that socialism is not real. I think it's just a sales pitch for tyranny, very honestly.
Yeah, they're trying to tell you that money is bad. It's kind of like this old story, because you read certain classics, like I think there was one I noticed in Epicurus, where he's talking about all this stuff, and it seems like really common sense, and you're like, yeah, Epicurus, man, you know what you're talking about. And then he starts to talk about this stuff like know thyself. But it's not know thyself as in know your strengths, know your weaknesses, know what you can take. And it's like know your place. You will be a soldier for life. You will be a farmer for life. And that is your lot. So accept your fate. And I was like, no, Epicurus, man, you're going on the wrong track there. And that's this motif that's repeated in certain ancient Indian texts as well, where they tell these horrible stories about a guy who's a farmer and tries to be a soldier and gets killed this terrible death. So you can never switch off when it comes to lessons. You always have to be critical of every part.
Yeah, totally. The wheat from the chaff, I've always heard, And that's always been used to manipulate, like God's telling me, and it's in this book that you have to listen to me because I'm the authority, and like there's this other idea, like, the head of the family will always be, the one that has the answers, knowledge, wisdom. But if that's the case, then every generation is going to get dumber, because if my dad is the authority and he will always be smarter, then I'm going to be here. And if I'm the authority of my family, then, you can see that downward trend going back to freaking troglodytes, and that's stupid. What my parents taught me always was like, my dad was like, you have to outdo me. You have to be better than me. You have to be much more of a badass than I am. And I was frightened, because I was like, hey, this dude is like a badass. How am I supposed to outdo that? So, but then, that was like just at the beginning, but then I was like, oh, I think I can do it. And it's not easy, and like, it's kind of scary, still scary. Like, because when you're in a situation where you can, like, a lot of people depend on you, and you're able to like put your hand in a lot of things and help and move a lot of things, and you step out, like zoom out and see from like the perspective of like the higher self, you're like, whoa, that's pretty damn interesting, like how, because like our little consciousness is just here on most days. So it is pretty interesting how, like, the liberation of the self and others. But so I think money, like freedom, comes through financial freedom, what do you think about something that, like, a lot of people, like, I posted, that's it, I'm poor because of rich people. And then another guy said, my car is slow because of Lamborghinis.
Yeah, I saw that comic. Yeah.
And like so many comments, like 100 and something out of like people like telling me that, yeah, the rich people keep us poor. What are your thoughts on that stuff?
Right. Well, I guess it ties back to what we were talking about, like how rich people try to manipulate us into thinking that we'll always be poor or that money is evil. So in a sense, it's true, but it's not true in the way that they think it is. So it's like they set up a mental barrier, but they don't actually stop us from building our own wealth, at least in most societies today.
Yeah, no, I think it's silly. Just to think I am poor because other people are rich. I think that poverty is a natural state of humans. Like if you go back in time, cavemen, nothing. And then we start building value. We create connections, relationships. We get together. We build things. We grow. And not because somebody else has more than me means that because of them, I'm poor. No, like, that's just silly to think.
Yeah, it's this fixed pie mentality. Like people think there's a limited amount of resources, but the real question is, what can you turn into a resource? And here's something something related that I think about as well. Like people have this mentality, like you work for something and you get out the exact same amount, but really the better way of doing things is when you can find something where you work a little bit and it's going to pay off a lot. And in a lot of cases in the world, the way it works is there's all these people who already have these skills and knowledge, and if you get the right people together, then there's this synergy, and that's going to make this explosion, and you can create a lot of wealth out of that. So it's not like you have to like build these things like 1, 2, 3, 4 in a linear sequence. You just put a couple of things together and poof.
Absolutely. I love how you said it. And yeah, even like the whole idea that if somebody's giving you a job, so there's no owners, no property. Like, I like the idea of cooperatives. I think they're good. They're a lot of work and they're nice and lovely, but I don't think that that's the only way to go. There's other ways. Like, the book Conscious Capitalism by John Mackey, like, dude was a complete socialist Marxist. And he says in his book, and whenever he started, like, it was him and his girlfriend, and whenever they started, like, getting nice business, like, his other Marxist friends saw him as evil because he was the boss now. And like suddenly just by becoming the owner of his own enterprise, he was the bad guy. And he's like, I'm actually paying you a salary and I'm not paying myself anything so we can keep this thing afloat.
Yeah.
But like nobody sees that. It's just like you have something and I don't. I mean, that's like, little kids when they're like 2 and 3 years old. That's silly.
Yeah. Well, it's the same bias, I catch myself sometimes with this. It's like you see somebody and they have something nice, or they're a great person, but you don't see the sacrifices that they made, all the effort. Like you see a guy who's great with women or has a lot of money or whatever it is, and you don't realize that he's actually put in work all of his life to get to that point.
I think so too. I mean, like, I think that's what it takes. I worked 80, 90-hour weeks for so many years just to be able to get to a place where I could I don't have to do things I wanted, my family the way I wanted. And then, you scale back. But a lot of people won't do that. They want all the nice things. They want all these things, but they're not willing to put in the 80 to 100 hour work weeks because it's just too much. I don't have it in me. I'm like, fuck it. I've even dealt with the brown recluse bite and I didn't have any energy, but I had to do things, So just like you said, exactly. Like suddenly, you're lucky because you have all of these things, or, visibility, women, money, whatever people value, No, not at all. Like, I mean, sometimes I work from 9 to 9 still, I mean, given I feed my kids, I take an hour lunch break, and we do a little exercise in the backyard, but still, I mean, sometimes it's like I wake up at 6:30 or 7 and I'm already making kratom orders, as I'm drinking my coffee, and I'm still going at 9 p.m. So I think that I'm an immigrant in the United States, and my wife and I started not even with a mattress, we literally were sleeping on blankets. So if somebody that's not from here goes from that to this, I just think that honestly, in the United States, poverty is a choice.
Yeah.
Is that too rough to say?
Well, it's certainly direct. Well, here's another thing that I think about and talk about karma, about the karma of money. So it starts.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, it starts a lot with the mentality. So when people say stuff like, "I hate money," you can imagine how that's going to translate into their bank account over many months. If they hate money, they're not going to have money, because if you hate something, you try to get away from it. Whereas on the other side, if you have someone not even necessarily that loves money, but he might just say, money is fascinating, and he's going to study it and get interested in it, and he's going to find out a way to make it work for him.
Totally. And there's a lot of people that are really good people, and they do a lot of good work, and they're like, I just don't want to focus on money because it's not my thing. I'm like, I mean, is eating your thing? Is taking care of your kids your thing? Because, there's a lot of, again, back to the analogy of the video game. It's one of those video games that it's it doesn't really have a goal. It's like what it's called MMO or something like that, just open. And that means, that being said, you don't have to do one thing for success. What does success mean? So you can do whatever you want. You don't have to focus on one thing, or be a farmer, or you can literally do anything you want. And if you want to live in the woods and that makes you happy, do that, but there's the whole idea of, karma and bitching and all of that stuff. Do something that you like. There's a reticular formation in the back of our brain, and that's where the images are captured and then they're taken into our psyche. Because there's so much information out there, our brain has to delete, distort, and generalize. So we only focus on this little bit of things. So your reticular formation will show you things. So when you start saying, oh, you discover something new, let's say you discover beet juice, then you start seeing beets everywhere. Like, oh, the universe is sending me messages. No, you're just focusing on them because you put them in your psyche, and your reticular formation is showing you more of it. So it's deleting other things. It's like the RAM memory in your computer. You can only handle so many things. Mm-hmm. So if you're focusing on how fucked up life is, or like how evil people are, you're going to keep seeing more of that. Yeah. So, and again, it's a game that has no purpose and no way to really win it. There's no way out either. So if you focus on all of this plethora of information, focus on the things that you want to accomplish, that you want to get, and like loving relationships, I think, is the most important thing personally. That's my goal, like being people that you like, that you love, maybe a little level of comfort or whatever. Like, so you're filtering that through your reticular information to get those things, instead of just like the sourness of, even like some of the anarchists are like, oh, the government's evil. Yeah, sure it is. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, have a good time, but enjoy the freedom that we do have, right?
Yeah, I want to be like Kurt and travel the world.
Well, I hope to be an inspiration to a few people.
I'm sure you are. You are to me.
Oh, thank you.
To see all your voyages.
Igualmente.
In adventure.
Thanks. The first time we took ayahuasca, it was me and my buddy Aaron, and he went in with this intention, and I think he had this fanciful idea that ayahuasca was going to be some kind of magic pill for him. And I was like, I think you got the wrong idea there, buddy. So he thought about his purpose, and he said, well, I'm going to ask, what is my life's purpose? And we're like, okay, well, let's see what happens. And during the journey, he got to a point where he's in this strange room, and there's a bunch of elves or strange little gnomes around him, or little spirits. And he says, so what's the deal? Like, what am I supposed to do here with this life? And they all just started laughing at him. And they said, there's no grand purpose, there's no grand plan, just do what you want. Just have a good time, figure it out. And that's like this simple message about the meaning of life.
That's it, like, I mean, there is no meaning. I think I mentioned this before in one of our interviews. Swami Muktananda, his phrase that life is a meaningless energy going nowhere for no reason. And depending on what filter you have, you're going to say, oh, that's so depressing, oh my God. Or you can say, that's so cool. Like, I can make whatever I want, And like, if you add the little awareness point that you are another me and I am another you, that means I'm not going to want to hurt you because I'm hurting myself. So I can do whatever the hell I want. It's like playing Minecraft. You can build whatever you want for as long as you want. As long as you don't hurt anybody, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to compare life to Westworld as well, because it's like you're born and you're in this environment that's very familiar, and some people would stay there close to the center. I don't know if you watched Westworld.
I haven't.
Oh, okay. It's a great TV series. So the thing is, in the show, you come into this world, and it's all this simulated world with robots to play the characters. And in the center of the town, there are like these regular storylines that'll play out, and they're kind of simple, very safe things that you can do. But the farther you get from the original town, the more crazy things get, and the more excitement, and also the more danger. And so some people like to they're born and they stay in the hometown, and they stay where they are. But other people push the limits of ideas and of experiences, and even physical travel in the world, and find different things to do.
I love that. That does sound like it. I mean, a lot. You know, people that have never traveled outside their towns, you know, and they just want to be there because of safety, and that's fine. And then there's the crazy Kurt and Louise that cannot stay still.
Yeah.
That choose to manifest some weird ass experiences like getting deported from Mexico.
Yeah. Well, that was another thing. It's similar to what I was saying about having when I lost a lot of Bitcoin. It was like something gets taken from you, and then you're like, hang on, well, I was taking that for granted. Why didn't I travel more around Mexico? Why didn't I, trying to get my papers, I guess. But sometimes when something's taken from you, you really know the value of it.
All knowledge has a cost, and you paid a high price for that knowledge.
I did, yeah.
Nothing's free.
Yeah, that's right. But set to return. I'll probably go back in 9 months when the ban expires.
Excellent. Yeah, that will be exciting. We can go back there and go to Tolantongo.
Yeah. Yeah, the same place I was at right before I got kicked out. Yeah, but it's beautiful there. The only problem is there's no Wi-Fi.
Yeah, there's only two tiny places where you can get it. Right. But other than that, you're in a hole in a bowl in the Rocky Mountains with nothing.
I think we're about done there. Is there anything else you wanted to say? Any special
I'm just super excited and thankful to be here with you again. I always enjoy spending time with you, just kind of chatting and passing this on for everybody that wants to watch. Yeah,
it's great talking to you, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Likewise, and and if anybody wants to find me, it's Fernando Mises on Facebook or emancipatedhuman.com, and I actually have the best kratom available in the United States.
Yeah. Do you want to talk just for a couple minutes about kratom, about what it can do for people?
Sure. We can quickly touch on that, and maybe not. Maybe I shouldn't, because I could probably go to jail. Seeing how even Cody is getting shafted right now.
Okay, that's true. All right. Well, if you're interested in alternative health, it might be interesting to look up kratom and see what it can do. So we'll leave it at that.
Yes. Some people say, I cannot claim this.
Yeah.
Some people say it helps with energy. Some people say that it helps with pain management, euphoria. I don't know. I mean, those hearsay, right? I can't confirm.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. All right. Thanks very much, Luis.
Thank you, sir. Have a fantastic evening for you.